So our race is going to be starting in just a moment, and after we find out what's inside of this throne room, we'll talk a little bit about the flag set we're using.
Yes, the first three chests in the throne room, one of them is always going to have a key so that you can get out of the throne room, but the other two are also are randomizers, the first random items that you're going to be seeing in the game. And what's in those, if there's an extra key or if there are wings, can really change how the start of the game plays. Because with keys or wings, then you can get into the beginning area, the treasury in Tentacle Castle, and maybe get some extra items or even set up a gold grind.
And speaking of keys, it looks like Remolder was right next to Tantagel Castle. Now, you might have noticed some familiar things on the map, as well as some things that are a little bit off. So today's seed is kind of a Dragon Warrior unrandomizer, in that we are playing with a vanilla map. The things that are in the shops are also the vanilla items, and they cost the same amount. Our spells are learned in the normal vanilla order, although they will be learned much faster as we have very fast experience growth on. That means that we'll be taking only 50% experience for what we need. So with Rimeldar, we're able to open up the chest and get the death necklace right away, as well as some keys. So with this place is already just taking off, or this seed rather.
Yes, moving fast, getting to Rimmeldur, finding keys early opens up so much of the game, and that really lets them get started and get going. Because the map is vanilla, and it does look that they started in more or less the same area that they usually start, except it does appear that Brecconary and Tangel have switched places, although it's honestly been a while since I've been on the vanilla map.
Yes, they have swapped places, and of course, Brecconary is Rimeldar now. But yeah, so they're in different spots. The only place that will be the vanilla location is Charlotte Castle. So Charlotte Castle will always be where it's supposed to be. But any of the towns or caves can be where any of the other towns or caves could be. So we might see a cave on the Hawk's Nest location, or we might see Hawk's Nest where the Staff of Rain cave is. Speaking of caves, Raelis has found a dark cave. I didn't quite catch his movement to see where he's at. It looks like it might be the mountain.
Vraelis moved straight up and then right back down. Demon Knight, so probably not where he's going to be going to start with. So we'll see more of that cave later once they either get a lot more experience or if they pick up hurt more quickly.
Absolutely, and straight up and then bonking back down and to the right means that was the Swamp Cave, Swamp South. So going through that cave and getting to the other end is going to lead to the second continent where Charlotte Castle and a couple of other towns or caves might be. And Varela's picking up level 2.
I believe Vraelis may be the first one to have gained a level so far. Not the most exciting level, but maybe things will pick up a little bit as time goes on.
And Will Wagner music looks like he opted to do a bit of grinding with his keys, a slow grind, but it's paid off as he has picked up a broadsword and a half-plate armor. That's going to allow him to take out monsters much faster and much more efficiently. So that is a heads-up play by Will Wagner music.
And especially this early, that jump in attack power is going to be so huge proportionally to what everyone else has. And so I'm not surprised that he's starting to hunt around and around the area, maybe find some harder monsters or even search for one of the other areas. The interesting thing about this specific type of unrandomized map is that everyone knows where the different areas are, the different towns. They just don't know what they are yet.
And that Scorpion's still punching a hole through the half-plate armor of Will Wagner music. Looks like we've got some technical difficulties that have been resolved for Sausage Link 83's screen. I don't see if he picked up any levels yet, but it looks like he is going back into the gold chest in the treasury.
Yes, it does look like Sausage is still at first level, but he may be heading out. It does somebody did mention in the chat that the Drakeemas seem to have hurt more, unless that was a reference to an earlier game, which, if that's the case, that's going to make things a little bit hard for some of our players. And note, if I'm correct, that at this point, only the winner of this four-way match is going to be able to advance to the next round. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's been so this is week 5 of the Dragon Warrior tournament. So this is the last week of qualifying rounds before the elimination round of 16 begins next week. Each of our runners has had an interesting path over the last 5 weeks, leading them all to a current standing of 10 points. Mathematically, 15 points is kind of the magic number to be able to get into the elimination rounds. So only the first place winner, who will be awarded 5 points tonight, will be able to advance to that final round. So it is kind of win or go home for all 4 of our racers. So that definitely is going to put some impetus for them to finish this as quickly as possible.
I'm curious if this is going to cause some of them to play more aggressively and riskier in hopes of getting a lucky break or a big payout so that they can get ahead of the competition, or if it'll make them play a little bit more conservatively because they don't want to overextend and lose a bunch of time somewhere.
Absolutely, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out as they make their decisions and start to get to the levels where they're able to branch out and go. Interestingly, we do have kind of 2 separate strategies in terms of equipment and grinding for that gold. Jacquemus Wedge and Will Magner Music both with the half plate and broadsword, whereas Sausage Link and Bareilles opting to go with the hand axe and start grinding a little faster. But as we can see, Will Wagner and Jacquemus do have a slight experience lead, so that extra equipment is certainly paying off for them.
Yes, they got that equipment early, and that's given them a lot more mobility early in the game. The vanilla Erdrick's Cave is Cantlin, and it looks like they have found Breckenary up in the northeast where Garenham was. Breckenary, not very exciting, but Cantlin will be exciting because now they know they have a place to spend some money if they get some.
Absolutely, and there is a gold grind available again with gold chests in the treasury. Once they find a cave where they can open a few more chests, they can set up that death warp and be able to virtually print as much money as they would like. Will Wagner Music going to check the coordinates, it looks like.
Yes, is he going to have enough? Yes, he is going to just barely have enough to get to him. It's to see if it's close by. Is he going to be able to count? Oh!
So we have no coordinates, so that means that the overworld search tile it just does not exist.
So that means that all of the items that they are going to be wanting, those are going to be in Coal or in Hawksnest, correct?
Actually, they can be Cold, Hawksnest, or really any of the chests in the game. So with this particular build of the randomizer, the progression items, which are the silver harp, the stones of sunlight, Erdrick's token, as well as the armor and the sword, those and the death necklace, those can be in any of the chests or any of the searchable areas, with the exception that the harp, the stones, and the token, they cannot be in Sharlock Castle. But all the other stuff can be in any chest or any searchable area.
Does that include the armor? Because I know that the armor used to have some specific, what's the word I'm looking for? Some specific restrictions around the area.
Yes, so this is a newer build of the game. It just was released just shortly prior to this tournament. So the alpha build has changed those locations just slightly.
Wonderful. So that means that they have a lot of places to look because they're definitely going to need all of those items and weapons and armors if they're going to take on the Dragon Lord before anybody else.
Precisely. Now, another thing with this particular flag set is because the spells are learned in order, Heal More is a spell that is pretty much also required for a Dragon Lord fight. And they won't be learning that until level 17, if I am correct.
So the sooner that they can find a place to comfortably start grinding for levels, which means that they're going to be wanting to look for a boss tile somewhere, the better the chance that they have of getting ahead of the rest of the pack. Now, what's going to be exciting is to see what the monster is in the basement of Tantagel, because because if it is the swamp cave like we think it is, that means that's going to be a spike tile, and that could give a huge advantage to the first person that can get to that.
Absolutely, especially if he's a friendly monster to take down. Maybe if he has some skills that, make it so that he's not attacking them for tons of damage. If they can get a grind going, that definitely can propel our runner to the forward. But right now, or to the front of the pack, rather.
It looks like Will Wagner just ran into a Wolf Lord with the Dragon Lord breath, so that's a scary proponent, but thankfully that's not a regular Sharlock enemy, so we're safe there. And Jackamus Wedge finding coal in the vanilla coal spot, very fun.
Coal is in coal. Is this even randomized? If there's a fairy flute there, I kind of think I want my money back. And did Jackamus's screen was skipping a bit on my screen. Did he actually search the search area in coal?
I didn't see that, but Jackamus might have gone there before and already popped out again if we missed it.
Alright, so Kamion Renokai letting us know that he didn't quite catch it either, but he did search the spot.
It looks like Will Wagner and Jackamus Wedge both have, is that the broadsword that they have? So we know that it wasn't Erdrick's sword yet. Finding Garen Ham, so we've got a few chests in here and another cave to look through. This might give a very good chance of being able to get a gold grind going on, so that they can get to Cantlin.
Absolutely, as long as it's one of our dark caves, they should be able to get in there. But again, Jackamus maybe opting to visit the inn first or check the equipment store.
Yeah, it looks like he's checking the equipment store, and he's going to go into the backyard and see what's going on there. On the other side, it definitely looks like Sausage Lynx is trying to go for the Vanilla Swamp Cave location and see what's down there. I didn't catch the town earlier.
That's actually Garenham, so he has found the same place as Jackamus Wedge, and it seems that all of the towns have been found. I don't think we're missing any towns except for we've seen Breckenary, haven't we? So
yes.
So all the towns appear to be on this continent, and all of our caves will be on the other.
Well, that's gonna be a tricky proposition for moving back and forth and finding places that they need to heal or use the inn or stock up on something on the way to Sharlock. But the other continent might be very easy to get to, depending on where the swamp cave spits them out at.
Absolutely, and of course we are also missing the ones in Cantlin and Hawksness, but those are also quite far away as well. So they are practically their own continent in and of themselves. And the swamp cave spits us out at the Remuldar location.
All right, and now they're going to be able to look at what's on the other side of Vanilla Swamp South at.
Meanwhile, Sausage Link is working his way through Erdrick's cave. There are no encounters in here, so it's a free walk to a single chest, and it contains a fairy water. And Erdrick's token is confirmed in coal as Varelis picks it up.
Wonderful. All right, so that's one more key item that they don't have to worry about finding before they can get going. The sooner they can get their key items and get their experience grind on, the sooner they'll be able to finish up and get into Sharlock and wrap this up.
Absolutely. As soon as they find that, and of course, what they're really looking for in terms of boosting their next experience grind, that armor or that sword, just makes every other aspect of the game, once you find them, that much easier, particularly Erdrick's armor.
Yes, every step with Erdrick's armor will restore your hit points. You are no longer susceptible to stop spells, so any monsters that have them will be wasting their turns casting it on you, and you're immune to both swamp and barrier tiles.
So if you're enjoying what you're watching, or if you like these randomizers, be sure to give a follow to our runners, Varelis, Jackamus Wedge, Sausage Link 83, Will Wagner Music. as well as our production team. Math Girl 718 is doing our restream. I'm Velu V, and with me in the commentator booth is Squeak, as well as our stat trackers, Lord of the Synth and Kamion Reno Kai. They're doing a great job keeping us up to date with what's going on. So if you like this kind of thing, have a watch. We all kind of stream this and do other types of randomizer stuff. So it's a good way to support your runners.
Absolutely. Oh, is this a new cave? This is the Staff of Rain cave?
Yes, and the Staff Cave is the Staff Cave. So another vanilla location. The whole coal upper right side of the map there is exactly as what you would expect in a Dragon Warrior game.
I think I'm ready to call Vanilla Hawk's Nest right now.
I'll take you one further. Vanilla Sword.
Vanilla Sword? Oh no, that would be terrible.
Well, it does depend on where their stats are. So actually, I haven't been watching that growth much, so it'll be interesting to see kind of where we're sitting at in terms of our strength in that.
Yeah, I haven't noticed as many deaths recently, so either they're doing a better job of finding out where the safe spots are, or they've been getting their stats high enough, quickly enough that they have a little bit more freedom to move around.
Looks like we're sitting at 34 strength, which isn't great, but the agility is amazing in this seed. Already in the orange. Orange, of course, means that, or stat numbers if you're watching, the tracker numbers. If it's white, it means you're just kind of in an average amount for one of the middling levels. Once it starts turning orange, that means that you're getting close to being Dragon Lord ready for that particular stat. And if all the other stats are really, really good and you only have one or two in the orange, you're probably okay. If the stats get into the green, that means that those stats are considered Dragon Lord ready for fighting, the final boss of the game. Now, of course, just having green stats isn't all that's necessary. You still have to survive the dive into Sharlock, so depending on how those monsters are, that could be particularly treacherous. So we'll be keeping an eye on those, and as our racers get close to being Dragon Lord ready, they want to have completed the rest of their exploration so that they can just dive on in there and finish the game. Meanwhile, it looks like Jackamus Wedge is working his way around in the grave of Garanham.
And at this point in the game, probably is going to go and hit every single cave, every single chest that he can, just so that he can, ensure that he's not going to miss out on a air direct sword, which, if he has to go back in, would be a huge time loss.
Absolutely. I'm more of a see a cave, clear a cave kind of a person, but there are some folks who, particularly for the grave, will bypass going to the basement because it is much longer dive for only 2 chests. So there is some debate in the community about diving the grave. I for one would do it every time that I can.
I think you only need to miss the sword in that cave once, and you'll get converted to diving it pretty frequently. But that's just my assumption.
And again, I did not catch what was in that chest. I do see some intermittent streaming on Jackamus Wedge.
Oh, but it does look like Will Wagner Music, fighting a Metal Scorpion now, is on his way to see the Vanilla Hawk's Nest location.
All right, we'll see if you guessed correctly. Actually, he might be making his way to the mountain cave. That is along the way.
Oh, that's true. And finding and he knows that he's gonna have to deal with the spike cave, a spike tile in Hawk's Nest, and he knows where all of the towns are. So the mountain cave might be a better bet to see if he can get a better equipment or an armor.
And that's the grave of Garanham. So he'll be making his way down, and hopefully we'll be able to see what was in that bottom chest.
Top one has wings, a magic key, and an empty chest. All right. Also of note that the one they picked up, I believe it was in the treasury, but I did miss the very couple first few seconds my stream was behind. They do have the death necklace, which can adjust their strategies for fighting the Dragon Lord, as it reduces your hit points by 30%, I believe, but also adds a significant amount of strength.
And looks like Jackamus Wedge did do a gold grind for a silver shield money. Of course, the way that gold grind works is in the vanilla version of the game. Well, the way that it tracks whether a chest is open or not is there's an array, and it can fill up with 8. It can store 8 open chests for any dungeon or castle that you're in, dungeon or town. But if you die and then go back to Tantagel Castle, it never recognizes you of leaving the inside of an area. And so it counts all of those chests that you opened as still being open. So once you open that 9th chest, the game doesn't know what to do, so it just leaves it open, or rather leaves it closed, and lets you just keep taking whatever's in it over and over and over again. And what Jackamus did was he utilized that fact to be able to open a gold chest repeatedly, and print, the 14,800 gold that he needed to purchase that silver shield.
The Silver Shield, of course, being the most powerful shield in the game, and unlike the Erdrick's Armor or Erdrick's Sword, one that you can't find. So if you want it, you definitely have to pony up all of the cash for it, which without a gold grind is pretty unrealistic in terms of a randomizer. We did just watch Vraelis and Jackamus Wedge find the bad news that if they're going to find that armor, or rather find the news that they don't need to find anything on the search spot on the overworld.
So not having to search the overworld, that could be a blessing and a curse. I certainly don't like having to count out tiles. But they are definitely have the knowledge so they can move on and get to the next thing. And it does look like it was gold that was in the bottom of the grave, so our runner's not really missing out on anything there if they skip it.
Yeah, looks like that's the case. So let's see, we haven't seen the Fighter's Cave yet, or the Mountain Cave yet, and there's still all of the chests in Sharlock, although is the logic now in the game that the armor can be in Sharlock, or is the armor guaranteed not to be in Sharlock?
The armor can be in Sharlock. The only things that cannot be in Sharlock would be the Silver Harp, the Stones of Sunlight, and Erdrick's Token. So the things you need to get into Sharlock can't be there, but everything else is fair game.
Well, if this seed is going to be that mean, then it's lucky that they have very fast experience on, because trying to get down into Sharlock without the armor is not a fun prospect.
No fun whatsoever. Speaking of levels, hold on, I have that information.
Oh, and Hawk says it looks like is they're in a cave. I think it might be the Mountain Cave.
I think process of elimination, it should be the mountain, yeah.
And Vraelis now just diving down into Garen's grave. So far, they found the token, they found the Stones of Sunlight, but they're still looking for the Silver Harp at this point. So that's another key item that they need before they can start worrying about getting into Sharlock, as well as the Staff of Rain.
Yes, and Jackamus Wedge finding the armor at the top of the mountain cave in that first chest off to the right there. So that'll be a big boon to him, as and hopefully our other runners are. It looks like Sausage Link is making his way to that same cave. And speaking of that Staff of Rain, so we do turn in the Silver Harp, and that will become the Staff of Rain from the Staff of Rain cave.
Oh, yes, of course. So now that he has the armor, that's going to open up a lot more movement for him. It's going to increase his survivability, and monsters aren't going to be hitting him so hard, and he'll be recovering his health without having to use his magic power for it. And so now it's going to be, let's see, where are the other places? The rest of the mountain cave, but I'm trying to think, what other chests could there be?
Well, the bonus cave, or the Stones of Sunlight, the vanilla Stones of Sunlight cave, has one chest in it. And then other locations would be the spike tile in Hawksnest. And I think other than that, the only other places that we haven't seen is in Charlock. We've been behind Garen's grave, I believe. I forget what was back there, but we have been behind there. I think we've been behind there.
Now, if Jackamus Wedge doesn't find the harp down here... Oh.
Sword. The sword was also in there, so Jackamus Wedge is now fully kitted out with the best weapons and armor.
Well, that saves us from having to walk all the way down to Cantlin in order to pick up the a sword. But they might have to head out to Cantlin or somewhere preposterously out of the way to get the harp, because I think those are the two places that you mentioned are the only two places left. And I'm trying to think of any other spaces on the map that could have them, but I think it's way down in the corner over there, isn't it?
I do believe you are correct, either down there or on the other side of the continent. I don't think they went all the way south to the original jerk cave, which we also haven't seen. So our runners are going to have to go to all the ends of the map, either to get their item or to turn that item in.
And it's a pretty big map, and there's also a lot of backtracking and circling around. It's interesting going from the way that the random maps look to the way that the original map looks, and just the way that it's set up differently to force you to go around and pack more movement into the same area can slow them down a little bit sometimes, just for the sheer distance they have to travel.
Absolutely. So it looks like Sausage Link 83 has also picked up his Erdrick sword and armor. Meanwhile, Will Wagner Music and Veralis both opting to do a full gold grind to get magic armor, silver shield, and flame sword. They're probably gonna regret that just as soon as they find that mountain cave and make their dive in and get the sword and the armor.
Yeah, because that's probably going to be the next area that they hit. So probably a little bit of frustration for them at that point. But if nothing else, they'll at least have the silver shield for it. It does look like Will Wagner Music. Yeah, Will Wagner Music has already done that grind. As you can see, he's fully kitted out there. I did notice on Sausage Link's screen that he did fight a red dragon, and the red dragon did quite enjoy casting hurt on him, which could be a very good thing if they're planning on going on dealing with some spike tiles or for their Charlock grind.
Yes, red dragons with hurt is definitely a welcome sight. Even if they don't have it on a spike tile, as you said, if they can find a place to reliably find them and just grind through either, just by walking back and forth on tiles, that hurt means that, red dragons give tons of experience, so it's very good to be able to take them out, knowing that you'll pretty much be safe and not die.
Jackamus Wedge killing an Axe Knight and not showing us what he got.
Jackamus, you and your secrets.
Although an Axe Knight in Hawksnest isn't bad, it's just that Hawksnest is awkward to get to. I don't think we've had a chance, and maybe the chat can correct me, if we've seen what the spike tile in the Tantagel basement, the swamp cave, is, since that's so close to the starting point, or the king. If there's a good monster there to hunt, that'll really help them if they need to gain any more experience, if they manage to get their key items out of the way quickly.
And chat confirming, I don't think we've seen what is on that spike tile just yet. In terms of where we are in the race, so we've gotten off to a pretty decent start. The sword and the armor have both been found in the mountain cave, or at least Jackamus Wedge and Will Wagner Music have found them. Or rather, Jackamus Wedge and Sausage Link have found them. Will Wagner Music and Veralis opted to do pretty much full gold grinds, and they're probably going to learn very soon where that sword and armor is. We still have not seen the silver harp, but it pretty much has to be on the Hawksnest tile. I think that's the only place we haven't found that, or the Stones of Sunlight cave. And again, looks like Jackamus Wedge searched it, but I did not see what it was.
So what was on both of those tiles is a mystery that we will have to take forward towards for everybody. We'll have to take forward and find out thanks to somebody else. Lord of the Synth in the chat noting that the correct play was to do the gold grind, which, because they don't know where the items are, and both of those items could very well have been in Sherlock, taking advantage of the gold grind from their previous dungeon, their previous cave delve, is a good option. If they had ended up needing to go into Charlock to get those items, doing the gold grind then would have saved them a lot of time. It didn't work out this, unfortunately.
Oh, absolutely. It was definitely the right play. It's just, hindsight is certainly a thing that is difficult to kick out.
Yes, and Vrelis, I believe, Vrelis just got the armor and is going to get the sword before long. I don't think anybody leaves out of the mountain cave early. It's usually only the grave that I see people skipping parts of.
Yeah, the mountain cave isn't too bad. It's only one floor you have to go down, whereas it's a much longer trek into the bottom of the grave. And Will Wagner Music making his way to the Cantillon Cave, so we'll get a chance to see which item was there. Oh, that was the jerk. Okay.
So that's not gonna give them anything useful for a while, even though it's all the way down in Cantillon and is going to wings back up.
Good call there. Cantillon being pretty much the furthest away from anywhere that you can be. So good that he had that wing to get back to Tantagel. He will have to make that trick one more time once he finds his silver harp.
Right. And Will Wagner Music unfortunately has not gotten the chance to pick up Erdrick's kit yet, although once he does, he'll hopefully have returned by the time he's having to make the trek out to Cantillon, although that is still an unfortunate trek.
And we've got the Fun Police on Jackamus Wedge's screen, but he does get away. Fun Police, of course, being the Red Dragons. And again, these Fun Police are pretty nice with that hurt spell.
But as they have, I believe, the highest agility in the game, it is very, very difficult to run from them. And if they do decide to attack you without using hurt, they hit like a truck too. So even at level 13, fully kitted out, they're an incredibly dangerous fight.
Silver Harp is confirmed in Hawksness as Sausage Link picks it up after taking out the armor, or rather the Axe Knight that's on the side tile there. Axe Knights are usually pretty good grind enemies when you have access to the Hurt More spell. But without it, they're kinda so-so, depending on what their stats are.
What's the variance for stats that the monsters can have in this version of the randomizer again?
Ooh, that's a very good question that I do not know the answer for, but I'm sure somebody in chat could totally type that out for us.
One thing to note that, as mentioned earlier, Jackamus Wedge, as we saw at level 13, still is in the white for strength. So strength might be the barrier, although by the time they hit level 17 for the Heal More spell, it's usually a pretty good chance that should have evened out their strength growths, unless they get phenomenally unlucky and might have to grind a further level.
Yes, now, when it comes to fighting Dragon Lords, there is kind of a formula for that. So the Dragon Lord himself can have between 150 and 165 hit points. And the formula for how much damage you'll do is you take your attack power. So that's the AP at the bottom of the tracker there. You subtract 100 from that. And then you take whatever's left and divide that by 2. That'll be your maximum swing. Divide that number by 2 and rounding down whenever you have to round. And that'll give you your minimum swing. From there, you can calculate how many swings you'll take to, on average, to take out the Dragon Lord, and you can compare that with how many Hurt More spells. In general, or rather, Heal More spells. And in general, you want to have about the same number, if not a little bit more. I believe it's a little bit more swings than Heal Mores, or maybe it's a little more Heal Mores than swings. That's why I am already eliminated from this tournament, I'm sure.
I mean, I would probably be safe. Myself, I'm a bit of a coward. I'd probably want to have twice as many Heal Mores than swings. But again, a high hit point barrier means that there's a better chance of you being able to double swing. So when you're coming in at an edge case where you're not quite sure if you have enough heal mores for it, that's where having a high hit point barrier might be enough to give you that.
So, looks like our runners, we've got Jacquemus Wedge has picked up his rainbow drop, so he has pretty much all the things that he needs to go into Charlock. We might even see him take a preliminary dive just to see what's in the treasury, maybe pick up that fighter's ring, and get a feel for what kind of monsters are in there that he'll have to deal with on the dive. Again, being Dragon Lord ready means that you can take on the Dragon Lord, but the castle itself can be the real boss of a seed, particularly if the monsters aren't that great. But it does look like he's making his way to the Axe Knight, possibly to do a grind on that spike tile there.
Yes, I wouldn't be surprised by that, and it does look like he's going for it for the spike tile grind, get a few levels. I'm not sure if he went out of his way to do it, or if that's just on his way home and he decided to pick up a few levels on the way there, fighting that Axe Knight now that he can take it out a little bit earlier. Still don't think anybody's been to the basement, or if somebody has and they clocked it as a monster that they don't want to deal with, that could be the reason that they're out with it. And yes, now at level 14, he has everything he needs. So he could go into Charlock and try and gain a level while looking for something, but he definitely is going to need to gain at least 3 levels before he's ready to fight the Dragon Lord in any capacity.
And he's taken pretty good job of this Armor Knight here. So we should see those levels coming quickly. Armor Knight being a pretty quick monster to gain levels on, and this one here seems pretty tame, so even without the Hurtmore spell, he's taken it out in just a few swings.
Yeah, I haven't seen any scary breaths or Hurtmores coming out of it, so so far it does seem like this is a pretty safe place to fight, although not as fast as being able to Hurtmore being, I believe, a guaranteed kill on an Axe Knight.
Hurtmore, it's not 100% a guarantee, but I would say about 90% of the time it takes him out. Sometimes you have to get an extra hit if you happen to roll a low hit Hurtmore and it rolls a high hit point value.
Right. Very rare. So if you can't, so generally safe to hurt more unless your strength is so low that you can't damage it at all, and then you would want to avoid having to waste a double hurt more on it. But generally pretty safe. Level 14, we're seeing the stats. Strength is still pretty low. Attack power is on the low side of things, although everything else other than magic power is looking ready to.
Absolutely, and that MP is slowly creeping its way up. So we'll see how they look when they get to level 17. That's when we'll be picking up that Heal More spell. But right now, it's looking like a pretty good, steady stat gain. Strength has got a good boon out of that level.
And especially when they don't have hurt more because of the seed flakes, that strength being low or high during the mid game is so much more important, because oftentimes people might get hurt more at a lower level, and then they can use that to gain levels to quickly bypass enemies that they otherwise can't fight straightforward in a slugfest. But at this level, they need their hit points and they need their agility and strength in order to fight the enemies toe to toe.
Absolutely. And the old man on the screen verifying that there is a Harp Knight in this seed. So we'll be looking for that. With that gold grind that we're talking about, occasionally, if there's an item in the chest, it screws with how the game names the item. So we get interesting names like Harp Knights and Sword Dracomars and other such shenanigans.
Always fun when you can find the game hinting at an axe ghost somewhere. Glad we don't have to run into those.
Yes, the red. So Jacquemus Wedge continuing his grind on that Axe Knight. Viralis picking up the final item that he needs, and
Oh, I'm just noticing. I'm not sure if they have the same L and V. I'm not sure what their bonuses are, but Vralis, at one level below Jacquemus Wedge, has the same strength as him. So again, a little bit low on the strength side of things. There's a decent chance that with a flag set like this, by the time you get to 17, you're taking out the Dragon Lord in in a dozen rounds or less.
Yeah, and so that strength, not getting any strength at that level, moving up to level 16, uh, not what our runners wants to see right now. But as they continue to grind, um, sorry, I'm just rambling now. As they continue to grind, obviously their stats are going to go up. That's the only direction they can't go. But we're definitely looking for a little more strength than what we've got right now. I usually am looking for somewhere at least 130 attack power, but the more the merrier. Right, guy,
It looks like
3745. Go ahead. I was just saying, confirming that you can go down in stats. I'd love to see that negative level. I'd love that.
Oh yeah, that might be on the plate for another randomizer where your stats can go up and down. Not sure how popular it would be, but considering some of the masochists here, I think it might be quite popular. Although it does look like at the most recent level, Jacquemus Wedge went up by I believe 17 hit points, or sorry, strength. So is now very close in contention for being able to go with the Dragon Lord. Just a little bit low on magic power. I think he might be a bit sketchy on.
Yes, that was definitely the big pickup right there, and just in time as he is rapidly approaching go mode with that heal more spell. In fact, he's topping off. He might make his way there. 147 health. He's got a death necklace that can add another 10 attack power at the sacrifice of just 25% of his health, which still puts him well above what he needs to take on the Dragon Lord. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a dive coming soon on Jacquemus Wedge's screen.
And especially because none of these racers can see how far the other ones are along on their race. So all of them probably feel like they could be in last as far as they're concerned. Anytime that they've made a mistake, they think that somebody else might not have made that mistake, especially with 4 people playing. So Jacquemus might be deciding to do a quick drive for the Dragon Lord in hopes to get lucky. 80 magic power seems a little bit scary for me to go down to try and go through on. I'm not sure if I would take that risk. And I did see him just cast repel, so maybe he's not going to go for a full dive if he's burning through magic like that.
Yeah, that repel spell takes him down to basically he has enough to cast a radiant, and he'd still be able to have 9 heal mores. If he puts on the death necklace, that'll put him at 137 attack power. So he'll be swinging for a maximum of 15, 16 points, I believe, and a minimum of 8. So
He would need
12 on average.
And he does not have enough magic power for that. So unless he's planning on gaining a level and hoping for great stat gains, this might just be an exploratory dive to maybe open up the treasury or just see what the monsters are like. We'll have to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe go down there, pick up a fighter's ring, and like you said, Sharlock is not a horrible place to grind. I mean, there's Sharlock monsters in there, and we've seen that we can take some of them out.
Yes, Will Wagner proving it right now. Will Wagner is using the red dragon tile to grind, giving much more experience than the Axe Knight, and at this point deciding that the damage that the increased damage that it's doing is worth the fight because of the hurt spell that it casts.
Yeah, it definitely means that he'll be able to take on quite a few of those, and even though they're taking some damage, or rather he's taking some damage, he'll be able to conserve that mana, or that MP, just that much more because it's not really doing a lot of damage with the hurt spell.
Yes, the magic armor I don't believe does, but I believe that the Erdrick's armor will reduce both the Dragon Breath and hurt more spells. Is that correct?
Yeah, the Erdrick's armor protects you from the breath. I think the magic armor will do just hurt and hurt more. Yeah, I think. think I have a document that says that. Let's look it up.
Yeah, Jack and Miss Wedge working on the dive. I'm having a hard time catching how many of the enemies he's fighting versus how many of the enemies he's opting to run from. Maybe only ones that he knows are easy kills. Although with his current MP level, I'm still a little bit suspicious. A 72 MP, that's 8 per heal more. I'm not sure if I believe that.
It does look like those red dragons, which we've got 3 on the screen right now, have the heal more spell. And now it looks like we're still able to punch through it, but it does kind of throw a wrench into being able to grind them fast.
Yeah, that's going to slow things down. Jack and Miss Wedge heading straight for the Dragon Lord while everyone else is fighting red dragons.
This
Honestly, considering how close they are to the Tantagel, might be the best play.
Yeah, this is definitely a dive for the win for Jackamus. As you noticed, he's running from everything, so he's conserving that magic to take it all the way to the bottom, not really bothering with grinding or anything.
And a red dragon on that final spike tile, that's good news for them because it is not a difficult fight. Let's see if he does it. I feel like this is a big risk for him to take, but he might give it a go. And opting to use the death necklace, he's going to try for it, and that's risky. If he dies, he gets kicked right out of Tantagel.
And I'm not really able to follow the numbers here. So we're just gonna have to see how it plays out. It's trying to get a count for us, but you're absolutely right. If he dies with that death necklace on, he'll be kicked out of Tantagel. Fortunately, our swamp cave was not behind Tantagel, or was it?
The swamp cave is in Tantagel.
Ooh, so that does mean if he gets kicked out, he's going to have to find Breckenary, get uncursed, and then go back in without the death necklace.
Thankfully, Breckenary is in Vanilla Garenham, and there is Rimulder just right outside of Tantagel, so he can make that. It's just, unfortunately, that's going to take a little bit of time out of him.
And it looks like the Dragon Lord does send him home, so not quite enough heal mores to make it. You were right in that magic just not quite being where it needed to be.
And now, everyone else is at level 17 too, so that failed dive has suddenly put everybody is kind of at even playing field for this final home stretch, so this could be a very close race.
Absolutely, this is it for all of the marbles, and our runners pretty much, they all need to, it looks like, get themselves up one more level. We might see some others go for a dive now that they've hit 17. Looks like Veralis might be making his way down there.
Yes, Valus might be making his way down there, unless he turns around to the right, in which case he's going back down for another level from the Red Dragons, which is what Sassage is doing. And it looks like Will Wagner, maybe too, is same place as going on the way or stopping in.
And yeah, actually, you are right. It looks like they're going for that grind. Oh, it's Swamp South. I thought it was Swamp North. My mistake.
It looks like 18. Oof, 18. No. Oh, wait, no. Hadn't been updated yet. I wonder how much 18 is going to change, if that's going to push the strength and MP up to where we need it to be.
To be honest, they're not too far away from where they need to be. Level 18, of course, coming at 9,500 experience points with the very fast leveling on.
One strength and 11 MP.
Heading to Sharlock, we've got my favorite part, the Rainbow Ocean going on.
Lord of the Synth noting 1 strength, 11 MP, and a whopping 28 HP, making the Death Necklace even easier to use. They are at 175 hit points, although at this point it might even be... do you think it would be smarter at this point to use the Death Necklace and hack away, or to just use that extra hit point buffer to go for double and even almost triple hits?
I would put on the Death Necklace just because you're not going to be able to get a heal more to bring you all the way back to 175 hit points. So I would go ahead and just grab that extra attack power. That's going to lower the number of swings that I need by 1 or 2, and reduce the number of heal mores that I'll need to just make it go that much faster.
And unfortunately, that is not something that Jacquemus has the option of making use of, as he has lost his Death Necklace now. Sassage, it looks like he is going to head on his way. Vralis is Vralis in Charlock right now?
Vralis is in Charlock. He's opting to make a dive. Now, the key difference is that Vralis did not cast Repel and is not casting Radiant. So he's going to have 1 extra heal more that Jacquemus Wedge did not have, because he used with those spells.
And somebody, Diabetes the Second, noting in the chat that from what they could see, Jacquemus Wedge's damage rolls were very poor. So if Vralis is lucky with the damage rolls and manages to preserve MP well, Vralis might even be able to take it at 17. Although it does look like if it takes him too long, or if he fails Sassage at 18, at this point I feel like 18 is pretty much a lock for this.
Yeah, 18 is definitely the sweet spot. 17 is possible, but the chances are much lower. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes, as Vralis is slowly making his way into the bowels of Charlock Castle. Sausage Link going behind the hidden throne room stairway. So again, we've got ourselves a race, and it can still go any way.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone is right up where they need to be. Everyone is in Charlock now. Everyone is gunning for the Dragon Lord, and any of them are within striking distance of making that victory.
Looks like we're having some technical difficulties on Vralis' stream, but Math Girl is working hard to get it up, or possibly flipping a table. One of the two.
Yes, apparently Vralis' connection issues are legendary.
And he is on the red dragon spike tile.
Excellent. It looks like Vralis is going to be the first one in for the Dragon Lord. See if that extra heal more is going to be enough to make it, maybe with some better luck on the attack rolls. No one else is very far behind either. Everyone is right up there with him too, it looks like.
So he does put on the Death Necklace for this. Gets a couple of lucky rolls on Dragon Lord 1. Takes him out in 2 swings. Does get back attacked and hits for 11. That brings us up to 35. Oh, man. All right, it's going too fast. I can't count.
And now Will Wagner and Sassage are both in the Charlock basement. This is at this point, this is more or less Vralis' shot, and once Sassage gets there, I can't imagine him losing.
Yeah, so it's pretty much do or die for Vralis here. Some high rolls and some low rolls from the Dragon Lord is what he needs. Looks like he pulled the double off there, I think.
And Jacquemus managed to gain level 18 on the dive on the way down. Oh, and there we go, Vralis.
Our first disco ball, Vralis. Get out your GGs, folks. Vralis will be moving forward into the elimination rounds as he makes his way to King Lorik. Courage and wit has served him well.
Yes, excellent work. Just, I believe he was on his last heal more, getting that Dragon Lord kill in.
Yes, he used up all of his resources. He was on his very last swing and finishes with first place with an official speedrun live time of 54 minutes and 8 seconds. Meanwhile, Sausage Link and Will Wagner music both on the Dragon Lord just as Jackamus Wedge starts his Dragon Lord 2 fight.
And we are joined here in the announcer booth by Vrelis, the man of the hour.
Wow, is that close? Jeez.
There are 3 more Dragon Lords on the screen right now.
Jackamus Wedge went on to the Dragon Lord first, but went in with 1 less heal more than you did because he used up some resources and didn't and took it.
Sausage Link just took out his Dragon Lord. Followed just now by Will Wagner music. So get those GGs out, folks. Just get them out and keep them coming out because these finishes are going to be rolling in 2, 3, and 4 just like that. Oh no, Jackamus Wedge gets taken down again at level 19 this time. I didn't catch what happened. There must have been a mismenu.
Oh no, I believe Jackamus Wedge gained levels 18 and 19 on the way into Sherlock, so he didn't have any of the extra magic MP that he would have had otherwise.
Oh, I see. Well, definitely a good game by all of our runners. Coming in, we've got Will Wagner music finishing at 55 minutes 33 seconds. Sausage Link at 55:35. Now that's a difference of 2 seconds. So we may see, if our runners contest it, we may see somebody to double check that, because that is kind of within that margin of error where it could just be who typed in .done faster.
So, and hello, Jackamus.
Yes, sorry, I've kind of been ignoring our runners with all of that close finish. Welcome everybody into the commentators booth. Congratulations, everyone, for a well-run, very tight and close match. Good job.
Yeah, GG, guys. That's surprised that was that close.
Yeah, I can't believe that. Less than a minute and a half between first and third.
Yeah, that was a wildly close finish. Anyone could have won easily.
Absolutely. Only 2 seconds between Sausage Link and Will Wagner music there. Very interesting seed. Any thoughts on? I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on how the seed went. Any places that really stuck out to you, or moments that you had during that run?
I feel like it was a pretty smooth seed from start to finish. Couldn't really complain about much in that other than doing a lot of
you cut out there a lot of backtracking, I'm guessing, considering the location of the jerk cave.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of walking.
Yeah, nothing like a vanilla map to make sure that Erdrick gets his cardio in.
Yes, Erdrick's error is definitely getting his steps in today. I hope he's got his Fitbit on, or at least filling his rings of his watch. So definitely an interesting dive there. There were a few points where you guys had some differences in choices that you made. Jackamus and Will Wagner music both opting to get broadswords and half plates at the start of the game, whereas Sausage Link and Varelis opted to just go for a hand axe and not bother to grind that gold right at the very beginning. And it looked like it was working out for both of you, Will and Jackamus, in the beginning, because you both did take the experience lead just a little bit earlier in the early part of the game. But otherwise, it was very, very close throughout. It was a slight lead.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yes. Hello, Jack.
Okay, I guess it was on my end. My mic was just being weird.
Well, welcome in. Any thoughts or comments about the seed?
Well, I'm glad that there was no coordinates because I couldn't find my map with all the landmarks and stuff, so that was useful. I'm a little annoyed that, luck failed me at the most crucial moment, but that's just how this randomizer goes, so oh well.
Yeah, you were actually the first one to go down and dive when you dived at level 17. You were ahead at that point. I feel like you were maybe that one heal more away from taking him down there, and Veralis actually went down just right after you, and that's when he finished up and got it.
I was one attack away from winning for sure there. I mean, I could have even won on that last attack, but just rolled minimum damage after I already had a few really crappy rolls in the fight, so. And despite having 111 max hit points and 105 defense, I didn't get a single double. So, just no luck for me in that final fight, so that's just how it goes.
Yeah, that hurts. I got lucky with a couple early doubles, but I also got back attack breath at the first. So yeah, I was down to the last swing.
We noticed we were speculating on a moment of frustration that I believe Will Wagner and Vralis might have had when you were both doing full gold grinds directly before finding Erdrick's sword and armor.
That didn't bother me so much. I mean, I could have done a partial maybe, but all this stuff was right there in Cantland. And yeah, it certainly made getting to the Erdrick stuff kind of almost trivial.
That's not really a big deal with speed hacks on. It's maybe a difference of 15 to 20 seconds to get the extra 10,000 for the flame sword.
Yeah. I still had a hand axe at the time and half plate, so I'm like, yep, magic armor and flame sword are going to be a huge upgrade.
And at the same time, we were also speculating or wondering if the armor and sword might have been in Sharlock, then taking that grind when you can get it is going to give you a huge advantage. Another fun thing of the randomizer, you always, if you do the grind for something, you might not need it, but you definitely are going to want it if.
Gear is good. It gives you more numbers.
Very true.
We were actually discussing what would happen if we got negative stats in a level. That's so you're right. Numbers are definitely the things we're looking for.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been everybody, but these flags seem to really love agility and hit.
Question from chat. What are your thoughts on, because there were definitely two choices for the grinding there. Some of you opted for the Hawksness Axe Knight, where others went for the Red Dragon in the swamps, in the Swamp Cave. Any thoughts on that decision-making process there?
With the high defense, Axe Knight's a no-brainer. You can basically kill one cast heal, and it's just really, really fast. I guess the Red Dragon did have hurt, so it might have been comparable in this case, but I don't know.
Yeah, it
made more sense to me that way.
Hurt. It did have heal more snuck in there though, so that ate a few turns here and there, but yeah, and it didn't hit terribly hard either, all things considered. So when it did swing, it wasn't the end of the world. And I kind of decided to grind after I got the rainbow drop, so going all the way back to Hawksness didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah,
I tell you, it wasn't really fun to have to walk to Breckenary to uncurse myself after my first failed attempt at Dragon Lord, so that was just a little silly.
Well, at least Breckenary wasn't as far away as it might have been. That could have been a real frustration. Still far enough away that you didn't want to have to do it.
Yeah, I thought about just forfeiting right after my first failed attempt, but at that point it's like, I'll at least, put another attempt and finish it out. I basically knew I'd lost at that point, so whatever.
Someone's having fun with the caster names. Oh wow, 6 out of 16 stop spell. I tried it a few times and never landed any of them, so that did not seem like that was that high. But yeah, 25% healed more makes sense.
Yeah, just enough to not notice for a while if you got lucky.
So, speaking of numbers, based on the results of this race here, Veralis, this puts you at 15 points, which is the magic number to make it into the elimination round. So, how are you feeling about moving forward into the next stage of this tournament?
Surprised, and I kind of had already resigned to like feel okay if I hadn't gotten first place. So take a little while to sink in that I'm still moving on, I guess, because I sort of expected not to at this point after 2 last place finishes. But I'm looking forward to some of the more insane flags coming up.
Yeah, there are some very interesting flag sets to really test the mettle of our top runners. So we'll be looking forward to seeing that in the next weeks. Any thoughts from our other runners just about this is kind of the end of the road of a 5-week journey. Any thoughts about how this has been going for the last few weeks for you?
For me, I'm just happy to get into this. It's my first time around. Week 1 was my very first Dragon Warrior race. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the next one and watching the playoff.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. So you've done, if that was your very first race, then you've done incredibly well. Just in just a short time. So that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, excellent work, especially for your first tournament, starting your first races.
Thank you.
Well, I suppose if we haven't got any other comments or thoughts, we might just kind of land this plane.
I do.
Oh, comment. Go for it.
Let's go, Bruins.
I gotta do it. Go Pens.
All right, well, thank you everybody again for the commentary and restreamers and all that for almost last minute notice to get this set up. It's really appreciated, and yeah, looking forward to the rest of the tournament.
Thank you, all of our runners. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just saying thank you very much, everybody, all the runners for coming out, to Math Girl, Kamiya, and Reno Kai for helping us with the restreaming and the tracking.
Absolutely, as well as Lord of the Synth, Squeak, thank you for coming out, and of course our runners Veralis, Jackamus Wedge, Sausage Link 83, and Will Wagner Music. You've been watching the Dragon Warrior Randomizer League 2020 tournament on Randomania, and I am checking to see if we're sending us off anywhere. We might be going in for a raid here, but anyways, may courage and wit serve you well, and have a great night.
Good night, everybody.